NASA's first ever mission to the sun has been delayed by at least a day. The Parker Solar Probe was scheduled to launch this morning from Cape Canaveral, Florida, but it was scrubbed because of a helium pressure issue. The unmanned spacecraft, now expected to launch tomorrow, it'll travel 430,000 miles per hour and endure temperatures up to 2,500 degrees.
Mustang Sally.
Automotive history made in Michigan as the 10 millionth Ford Mustang is just off the assembly line. And this car has a similar look to the first one built 54 years ago. Gary Gastelou gives us a peek.
It's a car 54 years in the making. The 10 millionth Ford Mustang has rolled off the line at the Flat Rock Assembly Plant in Michigan, cementing the pony car's place as the best-selling sports car of all time.
You know, it's freedom. It's the road trip. It's what's great about America. Around the world, that's what we're, in a way, that's what we're selling, is that idea of freedom.
The 2019 GT convertible is painted Wimbledon white, just like Mustang No. 1, which was built in 1964. That car was purchased in Canada by an airline pilot named Stanley Tucker, who gave it back to Ford in exchange for the 1 millionth Mustang in March 1966. The millions of Mustangs that followed were manufactured at several locations over the years before production was consolidated at Flat Rock in 2005. Since then, over 1.5 million have been built, including the 9 millionth car in 2008. It took 10 more years to get to 10 million, with a surge after the 2015 introduction of the 6th generation Mustang, as Ford expanded sales globally and sold nearly 500,000 through 2018. But don't go looking for the 10 millionth in showrooms. Ford will be putting it on promotional duty for a while, and then either into a museum or across an auction block. And there'll be big changes before the 11th million arrives here at Flat Rock, where they'll be building a hybrid Mustang alongside an autonomous car and an all-electric SUV in just a couple of years. In Flat Rock, Michigan, Gary Gastelou, Fox News.
One of my sisters had a 68 notchback. And that's how Fox reports this Saturday, August 11th. I'm John Scott. Thanks for spending some time with us this evening. Stick around for Water's World. It's coming up right now.
Welcome to Water's World. I'm Jesse Waters. Congress is on vacation. President Trump spending the week in New Jersey, and we're still waiting for Bob Mueller and the 13 angry Democrats to wrap up what the president calls the witch hunt against him for alleged collusion with Russia. If you ask Congressman Adam Schiff, the evidence is right in front of us.
I think there's plenty of evidence of collusion or conspiracy in plain sight. Now, that's a different statement than saying that there's proof beyond a reasonable doubt of a criminal conspiracy. Bob Mueller will have to determine that.
Yeah, Congressman, you're right. There is plenty of evidence, but it's not against Mr. Trump. It's against Lovebirds Lisa Page and Peter Strzok. Remember these doozies? This man cannot be president. I cannot believe Donald Trump is likely to be an actual serious candidate for president. They fully deserve to go and demonstrate the absolute bigoted nonsense of Trump. Donald is an enormous blank. Trump is a disaster. Joining me now, former Secret Service agent and host of Renegade Republican, Dan Bongino, and the author of The Russia Hoax, the illicit scheme to clear Hillary Clinton and frame Donald Trump, Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett. All right, so one of the things, guys, that hasn't been getting a lot of attention recently, and I've seen it covered on, I think, Hannity, that's the only place I've seen it covered on, was that Christopher Steele was being paid by the FBI for many, many months and double dipping, getting paid by the Hillary Clinton campaign and the DNC. And he was backdooring through the FBI with a man named Bruce Orr. And Bruce Orr's wife worked for Fusion GPS. And what does that tell you, Dan, about the operation that the FBI and the Clinton campaign were undertaking way, way, way early on in 2016?
Yeah, Jesse, this is a complicated case, but I break it down into three, let's say, sub-scandals. Spygate's the mega scandal. There's three kind of sub-scandals. The one you're addressing here is what I call the information superhighway, or the information laundering operation. And it's best summed up this way. When the FBI's source for most of the information used to spy on the Trump team, a guy by the name of Christopher Steele, paid by the Hillary team to generate this fake, spurious nonsense information against Trump. When he was discredited and deemed by the FBI, and I'm quoting, Jesse, the FBI here, when he was deemed not suitable for use as a source anymore because he was lying about his media contacts, they had to launder his information back into the FBI to use him again. So what did they do? They hired the wife of a DOJ official, Bruce Orr, his wife Nellie, at Fusion GPS, reconnected Steele right back into the DOJ, and basically, instead of laundering money, they laundered information. It's an absolute disgrace what happened to this president.
And, Greg, someone made a great point the other day. You know how Dianne Feinstein it's been discovered that she had hired some Chinese mole, Chinese spy for many, many years. When the FBI got wind of it, they didn't send a bunch of FBI agents and spies to go look into Dianne Feinstein and try to entrap her. Instead, they gave her a defensive briefing and warned her about this guy. It's just so much different than the way the Trump situation was handled.
There's no fairness. There's no equivalency here. If you're a Democrat or a friend of Hillary, you get, immunity, or you get off scot-free. If you're remotely connected to Donald Trump, you get people like Robert Mueller and Andrew Weissman and his team of partisans coming after you with a vengeance and really abusing their positions of power. And that's part of the story of the Russia hoax. And you're right about Bruce Orr and Christopher Steele. I mean, Steele's on the payroll of Hillary Clinton and the FBI. And when they fire him for being a liar, they continue to use him in violation of FBI regulations. They were devious about it. They had Bruce Orr as a conduit. And the other amazing thing is, even after the president is elected, after he takes office, and for several months afterwards, they're still using Christopher Steele as a spy on Donald Trump, trying to verify the unverifiable dossier.
And now the big discussion is about this Trump Tower meeting, gentlemen. And the allegation is that this meeting between Don Jr. and this Russia woman amounted to some sort of conspiracy. They don't use the word collusion. I guess the legal terminology would be conspiracy, because information is the same thing as money. But I'm looking at it, and no information was ever given to the Trump team by Russia, yet the Hillary Clinton campaign paid for information from Kremlin sources. They just washed it through an intermediary, Christopher Steele. Isn't there a big difference between the Trump Tower meeting and the way the dossier was obtained, Dan?
You know, Jesse, you just hit the nail on the head. Jonathan Turley, who does a lot of work in this network, who is a very skilled lawyer and not partisan by any stretch, wrote a terrific piece saying just that. There is no possible way the Trump Tower meeting between Don Trump Jr., Manafort, and a couple of Russians, who, by the way, have very deep connections to both the Clintons and Fusion GPS, but that's another story, where no significant information on the Clintons is exchanged whatsoever. Granted, the meeting's a bad idea. Everybody acknowledges that, okay? There's no way that's a crime. But as you just said, Hillary Clinton, who actually paid Jesse, paid Kremlin-connected sources for actual information that was changed, that did change hands. There is no way that's not the crime. I mean, this is basic logic. The Democrats are going down a road here. I'll tell you, Jesse, they're walking right off a cliff, and I don't even think they know it. They're blinded by their hatred for Trump.
You know, the Federal Campaign Election Act specifically says, you can go to the FEC website, it says foreign nationals may volunteer their services in American political campaigns. And information by itself is not a thing of value which would violate the law. What is a thing of value, and By the way, information, not a thing of value. Money is. Hillary Clinton paid money to Christopher Steele, making that a thing of value. So she clearly violated the law. In egregious cases like hers, it's a crime. But the Trump Tower meeting with Donald Trump Jr., that's not even remotely a crime.
But you know what, guys? I don't want to lock Hillary up. And you want to know why? I want her to run again. 2020, let's get a rematch. Guys, thank you very much. And everybody go get Greg's book. Candace Owens becomes the latest target of Antifa. She's here to react. Next. The uncivil left out of control again, as two more conservatives were attacked this week by Antifa protesters. So watch what happened to Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk while they just wanted to have some breakfast in Philly on Monday. And don't forget, all of these vicious attacks have been encouraged by Democratic Congresswoman Maxine Waters.
If you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
Joining me now, Communications Director for Turning Point USA, Candace Owens. So, Candace, do you hold Maxine Waters personally responsible for those people coming after you during breakfast?
I hold Maxine Waters responsible, as well as all of the politicians who did not speak out and say that this was wrong. They all remained silent because they are okay with this, because Antifa is their gang. Okay, they condone this behavior all the time. We're seeing that it's increasing. It's happened over and over again, and it's getting more vicious each time that it happens.
So you believe Antifa is indirectly linked to the Democratic Party leadership?
I bet if we did some digging, they would be directly linked to the Democratic leadership.
So you think maybe money's involved?
Yes.
Or you think people are involved and maybe their mere silence publicly encourages this type of behavior, or even more so behind the scenes?
Absolutely. Just so people understand watching, this was 8 a.m. on a Monday morning. All of you guys were able to magically get out of work and dress in Antifa gear, or is this your job?
How did they know you guys were having breakfast there?
So we actually were eating in the cafe, and 4 Antifa members walked in to eat. Like, they were not there to harass us, and when they recognized us, they kept looking back and texting on their phones. We didn't think they were actually going to assemble an army. We thought that they could actually get through breakfast and respectfully disagree on politics without saying anything to one another. But nope, they sent out the bat signal, and this is what happened.
So you guys had someone filming this encounter? Is that where the video's from?
That's correct. We actually had one of our production assistants were there because we were all about to go into a meeting, and we told her immediately start filming, because if we don't have evidence, they were going to make up an entire story about what happened. So we needed to film every single moment, and we're glad we did.
You know, and the media is whining about the potential violence that is going to become them because of President Trump's rhetoric, when there's actual violence taking place against Trump supporters. So when you're being attacked like that on the street, do you have an understanding that that's happening because of your effectiveness with the free thinker movement?
100% it is. They know exactly who I am, and they feel that they're losing control. They've had a major hold on Black thought for so long. I came around, I'm not the only one, but I think my approach and my style is a little bit different. My communication style is a little bit different, and I've been tremendously effective at getting people to consider different ideas, conservative positions, free markets, capitalism, and they don't like me.
So they see you as a threat. That's why they're harassing you.
100%. They view me as a threat. That's been very clear. It's why they show up when Charlie and I are on campus and we're speaking, and it's why Black Lives Matter protesters come up, because we know the real stats, we know what's going on, and we are going to make sure that every Black person in America is educated so that they know never to let the Democrat Party use us again to do their bidding.
I know you want to talk about something else we found interesting about police brutality against Black people. We have some startling statistics. In 2018, just already 34 police officers have been shot and killed. Okay, now in 2018, I think so far only 13 unarmed Black Americans have been killed by police. So there's a little bit of a discrepancy. Almost twice as many police officers have been killed than police have killed unarmed black Americans. What do you make of those statistics?
Oh, I've known these statistics for a very long time, and that's why I attempt to re-educate the black community about what's actually going on. A police officer is 18.5 times more likely to be shot and killed by a black man than the other way around, and that is why I vocally support the police. I understand what they're up against. I would never make an excuse and say it's okay when an unarmed black man is shot by a police officer, but I do understand that those statistics are skewed in an effort to make black people hate the police officers and do the bidding for the Democratic Party, which I refuse to do.
And some startling statistics came out from a Rasmussen poll. This isn't getting enough play. I think the black support for President Trump was about 15% maybe a year and a half ago. And now, is it at 29%? Who do you attribute that to?
You know what? I think there have been so many people, black conservatives, that are standing up and speaking out finally. We're definitely no longer afraid. And I think that I'm encouraged by seeing all of these YouTubers that speak out. And the one person we can credit for this is President Donald Trump. Thank you for all the tremendous work that you have done to get our community up off of their feet and to give us jobs again. You know, unemployment at an all-time low. You are the man, and we love you, and we will support you.
What about Kanye? Does Kanye get any credit for that?
Kanye gets the credit. He does. He broke the window on culture and made it okay for people to discuss it because so many people weren't paying attention. Kanye put on that MAGA hat. Thank you, Kanye West. Number 2.
All right. Donald with the help of Kanye. Candace, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Up next, a professor attempts to school me on masculinity. And later, mini therapy horses.